Everything you need right here in the palm of your hand. What is good? Welcome back to the channel. We are talking about folding cameras today. First of all, before I say anything, just look at this. Look at how beautiful this camera is. Honestly, I don't know if there's anything out there in the film photography world that compares to folding cameras. Of course, there's all these other types of cameras that can be beautiful, but this is just unique. I'm sorry, TLRs, as much as I love you, the folding camera for me is the #1 beauty of the film game. All right, so why am I talking about folding cameras? I know a lot of people are thinking about getting into medium format photography and don't know where to start. For those people that want to get involved, I highly recommend that you start with a folding camera, and there's a bunch of really good reasons why. #1 is that you will learn photography very, very well with a folding camera. Folding cameras are typically fully manual, meaning they can't control anything themselves. You have to dial in every single setting in here, and it really forces you to evaluate the scene around you and make some decisions. It's not difficult, but it makes you think about what photography is actually doing and how the different settings are interacting. When we talk about manual control, there's kind of two key things that matter when it comes to folding cameras. First and foremost is the lens. Typically on a folding camera, every single thing that you do to operate the camera will happen on the lens. So you control your shutter speed, your aperture, and you actually control the exposure sometimes by actually engaging the shutter on the lens. My camera actually has a control up here, which I can just tap and it's connected and will trigger the lens. But for the really, really old folding cameras, you literally have to press on the lens. There's usually a little shutter button and that will trigger the camera. So that's really cool. The lenses, honestly, in photography are the most important thing always. And a lot of people don't think about that. A lot of people think the camera as a whole matters. And of course it does matter, but the lens is what will give you the actual size of your image. And oftentimes in older cameras, the lens is actually where you operate the entire camera. The other thing you do automatically on this camera is advance the film. So you have a little film advance window here, which I think is pretty cool for folding cameras. And basically it's designed, I guess, for black and white because there's a red cover here that will block out as much light as possible except the red one. And all you get to see there is the back of the backing paper, which shows you the number of the actual film that you're on. Every single backing paper has these numbers and they're designed for different size formats. Most folding cameras, I'd say, are probably 6x6, and therefore you're going to be looking at the 6x6 numbers. And it's very, very simple. You'll know it when you're doing it. But then in terms of film advancing, this camera has a built-in control so that you don't double expose. So the trigger for the shutter will not fire until you kind of click past a certain point. With a lot of older folding cameras, that actually doesn't matter. You can take as many shots as you want because all the control is on the lens. And you can advance forward if you want. You don't have to. You can kind of do whatever you want. But I love that because you don't have to wonder whether your film was loaded properly or not. This is foolproof. You see it advancing when you open your window here, and you can feel it as well since you're controlling everything yourself. So full operation, full manual operation, I think is the reason why these cameras are so much fun to use. Another thing to talk about folding cameras is the size. I showed you at the beginning of the video, fits in the palm of your hand. So you literally push down that way, close, and that's it. This camera, you can put it anywhere. Literally fits in any pocket that I have that I wear. I wear normal size clothes, I guess, I don't know, but you can put this in jacket pocket, your jeans pocket, shorts pocket. It's not that heavy, although it definitely has a nice kind of density to it. And there's nothing more portable than this when it comes to medium format. There just isn't. There's no competition there. So if you want medium format without the bulk and the size, this is it. And if you love hiking, you cannot get better than this because this is completely unintrusive and will fit anywhere, in any bag, behind anything, in your pocket, whatever you want. So do your crazy hikes, take this out at the summit, and you're not gonna be winded, you'll be able to get stuff done. All right, let's actually go ahead and take a look at some of the images I created with this camera on my recent trip to Cornwall here in the UK. Cornwall's the rocky southwest coast of the UK, and it's beautiful. Lots of hiking, beautiful blue waters, and just generally very nice landscapes. Let's check it out.
Don't leave our stuff.
I don't know what, it's going for the yellow box.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's go this way. This way's better. Okay.
All right, so focusing is the thing we really need to talk about here because this is where you get a bit of variation in the design of these cameras. The simplest folding cameras will have just completely zone focusing, which means you'll have an indicator at the top of the camera that tells you, how much is in focus at each aperture, and then based off of that and based off of your own evaluation of the scene, you then determine the focus. So what does that mean? That means you literally can't look through anything to decide how close or far a subject is. You have to kind of decide that with your eyes. And when you're doing landscape photography, that doesn't matter at all. It's super easy because everything's typically at infinity. And therefore, no matter what aperture you're at, you're gonna get something in focus by focusing at infinity. When you're trying to do other things for closer subjects, that's where it gets a little bit tricky. My rangefinder is kind of somewhere in the middle. It has a built-in rangefinder, but the rangefinder is disconnected from the lens itself. So you move the rangefinder around with this little rotating wheel up here, and that will give you the rangefinder patch that you can move up and down. Once that's locked in, you look at the distance reading on your little wheel here, and then you input that on the lens in the front here by turning this wheel. So it's a two-step process. I don't think that that's a problem, honestly, because I don't use this for portraits. If you were trying to do portraits with this, it would be a bit slow and a bit cumbersome. But you can still do it. And I have shot a random portrait here and there, and the images look pretty cool. But if you're doing a full shoot, this is probably not the one you want to bring. If you're doing anything else that's not portrait photography, I love this camera. It's perfect for travel photography. It can be used for street photography, although certain types of street photography. And it's just very versatile because of that. So if you want a really cheap folding camera, then you could probably get one that doesn't have any rangefinder at all. If you want a really expensive one, then there are some where the rangefinder is coupled with the lens and you can actually move it back and forth. I don't have that, and I think I'm somewhere in the middle, and I'm pretty okay with it. Again, I feel like I got a good price on this and I love how it looks, so I'm sticking with this one. But in general, focusing is probably what scares a lot of people from folding cameras, and honestly, I don't think it should scare you at all. If anything, I think it's a new skill you can start to develop in terms of evaluating distances with focusing and using that to make decisions on how you take your images. Last thing I want to talk about is specifically the bellows. The bellows are going to make or break your camera, and what I mean by that is if your bellows, have any pinholes or just kind of damaged, then you're going to get light leaks all over this. I think that's the trouble with folding cameras. These leather bellows, they can be very, very old, and therefore eventually something's going to happen to them. There are camera repair people out there who can actually fix that for you by either using some sort of a material to put on top or maybe some sort of liquid tape kind of thing. There's a couple of different ways to get it done. So I wouldn't let that kind of scare you from buying a folding camera. But if you buy a folding camera, you're definitely gonna have to shoot a test roll through it to see if there's any light leaks. Because if there are, it's gonna be pretty annoying. But fortunately, it's not that hard of a problem to solve. I haven't printed any images from that Cornwall trip, but I do have images that I printed from previous uses of this camera. Let's take a look at some prints here that I have. All right, so I just want to show you some prints real quick here. Got two very big prints that I made. Well, very big by my standards. These are 10 by 12 prints. And both of these images right here were shot with the agfa isolette 3, the camera that you've been seeing in this video the whole time. And I just want to show you the amount of detail that is present in these prints, how sharp they are with this camera. So let's zoom in here real quick. It's from a 6x6 negative, and honestly, I don't know if this is showing how good this looks, but just kind of a testament to the type of images you can get with this camera. Such a simple camera, and it's perfect for these, big, wide open landscape images that you can get, whether a cityscape like this of London or a landscape like this, which was taken in the Lake District, which is an incredible part of the UK where there's lots of mountains, at least mountains by UK standards. They're not super elevated like some of the big powers around the world. But yeah, just love these images right here, and a lot of fun to capture them with this camera. What I want to show you is just how resolving this lens is. At 4.5, which mine is a 4.5 lens, you're gonna have some softness, of course, especially on old lenses like this. But once you start to stop down, especially when you're doing your landscape photography, this lens is sharp, extremely sharp. And because of that, this is such a powerful tool to use when you're out there doing that type of photography. All right, I hope you enjoyed the video. If I haven't convinced you to buy a folding camera, then I don't know what else I can say, because I really think that this is how a lot of you should start doing your medium format photography. All right, y'all, to the next video. I'm out.